Hi, I'm Phobos, and this is my Chunk Locked Ultimate Ironman account, Chunk Hunter. I've always wanted to create something that was more than just an Ultimate Ironman, and was inspired by the Chunk Locked accounts of Pukagai and Limpword. I didn't really like the idea of the completionist angle for my account, and wanted to do something a bit different with the chunk unlocking process. I wanted something which was constantly fun and that I could have a bit of strategy with, rather than the chunk unlocking process being completely random. In comes the Wheel of Destiny, a decision wheel that holds the fate of Chunk Hunter in its spokes. With that, let's get into the rules and the unlocking process. The rules. Somewhat obviously, Chunk Hunter is limited to the chunks he has unlocked. Chunks are unlocked immediately after gaining 100k total XP. Chunk Hunter must spin the wheel from the chunk they got the final total XP drop. If the wheel lands on a chunk I've previously unlocked, Chunk Hunter moves to that tile and spins again. As you can see, different kinds of unlocks have different weightings. This is because I wanted local exploration to be more likely than teleporting away, allowing for better area exploration. Now let's get into the segments. You have your standard local exploration in green, cardinal directions of north, east, south, west, and dungeon. Dungeon chunks are not unlocked. The dungeon segment unlocks the first chunk of a dungeon. These have normal weighting. Spellbook teleports are in purple. These teleports are unlocked once the prerequisite magic level has been reached and lore runes have been acquired. Varrock, Lumbridge, Falador, Ardone, and Camelot. These are the ones that are available on the standard spellbook. These have half weighting. Other teleports will be added when their requirement or spellbook has been unlocked. Jewelry teleports will be added later once I have unlocked the enchant level and I have access to cosmic runes. For example, chunks with dark mages, black knights, giants, hobgoblins, etc. Minigame teleports are in red. Some minigame teleports have no requirements and are immediately available. Once the requirements for other minigame teleports have been achieved, they will be added. These have quarter weighting. The final segments are not random and are in gold. These are Chunk Hunter decides and the viewer decides segments. Chunk Hunter can decide any chunk on the map. However, the viewer will be given a straw poll which will last for 2 days with all the currently available teleport options and cardinal direction options surrounding the currently unlocked tiles. These have quarter weighting. Just a couple of things to note on the rules. The player-owned house does not need to be unlocked. Quest instances do not need to be unlocked, but the exit chunk from the instance does. Inside buildings, if the stairs are unlocked, the whole upstairs is available. However, the route back down must lead to an unlocked chunk. For example, I can go upstairs in the Celtigrim Palace from the west side, but can't go down on the east side unless that chunk is unlocked. The crux of the rules are, where I get the 100k XP drop, I have to roll the Wheel of Destiny. Some teleports are available from the beginning and more will be added when they become available. They have different weightings to emphasize local exploration and for mild levels of strategy. For a full set of rules though, check out the link in the description. It will go into more depth about chunk unlocking, teleports, rules and exceptions. Now let's get this account going.
I'm using the XP tracker at the top to determine when I unlock the next chunk. I'm also using a RuneLite plugin, Region Locker, to block off locked chunks.
Lumbridge is a great starter area, honestly. There are quite a few options for XP progression, the easiest of which are woodcutting, firemaking and fletching. There are options for thieving, but Lumby famously has no easy access to food. The only reliable way to get food would be to lure cows into your chunk with Range or Mage from the northeast cow pen, the onion on top of the general store, as I can't use the cabbage below the castle, or buying beer. You can get up combat levels by killing goblins and men, and even complete beginner and easy clues. You can, if you really try, get your crafting levels up using the sheep pens. Here in the initial stages, I think we'll just be getting our woodcutting and related skills up first. Getting some money along the way, drop collecting the runes from the mage tutor for mage XP, and completing any random events that come our way. Prioritising the genie, dunce, maze, evil Bob and prison Pete. We're hoping for prison Pete for lore runes, and are going to be putting all of our lamps and tomes on agility, so that we're able to do any rooftop courses that become available to us. Initially, we're going to be getting a full inventory of onions to start thieving the men so that we can get more money, buy some beers, continue thieving the men until we can afford a bronze, an iron and a steel axe. We're also going to get our attack up to level 5 so that we can use the inventory slot for more woodcutting. This is an Ultimate Ironman, so remember we have to prioritize our inventory as much as possible. Here we're getting the training sword and shield and Ironman armor so that we can kill goblins for a short while. That'll get our attack up to level 5, where we can then use the steel axe. I'm going to show you the first goblin I attacked, and it really did bring me some nostalgia killing a goblin again. Like, so little damage. The fight took so long, and some of the fights that I'm going to skip and cut out and only show you the leveling up. But some of those fights took absolutely ages. Honestly, it was ridiculous. Level 2 attack, level 3 attack, level 4 attack, and level 5 attack. We've also been burying the bones along the way and picking up any reasonable drops, selling them, or just keeping them in our inventory. We're then going to clean the inventory and then go start our woodcutting grind. Okay, you guys know the drill. It'll be woodcutting until I can get level 15 fletching and level 15 fire making. At that point I'll be able to fletch and fire make oak logs. That means I can, rather than running around and doing that, I can do a bit more AFK woodcutting. Then I'll move on to willow logs as soon as I can get that. And then that'll be most of the grind. The vast majority of it's going to be fletching rather than fire making, mostly because I prefer fletching. I think there's a more use for fletching. I know that the faster fire making is technically faster experience points, but I think fletching is more useful. There are two things that I learned immediately coming into this account actually. One of them was I need to be better at looking at when my level ups are and then recording those, because I missed a lot of them and I still haven't found out really the best way to record those yet. And the second one is I really need to watch Chunk Hunter's pathing. So I've unlocked, as you can see here, a couple of music tracks which I shouldn't have. He doesn't necessarily take the most obvious path and immediately leaves the chunk that I'm allowed in. The other thing about the early game of this account is it's kind of all about discovery. So here I reach level 12 woodcutting and then remember or rediscover the fact that canoes exist, and actually technically it's a form of transportation that I can unlock from the early game, and probably will through this grind unlock all the canoes. So this gives me access to completely new areas of the map that I didn't think I would be able to get to early on, such as the Champions Guild, the Barbarian Village with the Stronghold of Security, Edgeville, and into the wilderness. Throughout this grind I'll be drop collecting mind and air runes with the Mage Tutor, so that I can get large stacks so that I'm able to get some magic XP and possibly unlock the teleports and enchants later. This is the only reliable way to get magic XP within this chunk. So here what I'm just going to do is I'm going to show you a sped up version of the process I do to collect all the normal logs and then fletch them into bows. So I collect all of the normal logs around the Lumbridge general store twice, and then I fletch those into bows, and then I sell those to the traders, and then I do it again. I did this until I was level 15 fletching so that I could fletch oak logs, because you can stand AFK at an oak tree for much longer without having to worry about touching the account. Finally, after a pretty reasonable grind, I was able to get 15 fletching, and along the way I was able to get level 26 woodcutting, which is pretty decent honestly. My tactic to get level 15 fire making actually changed from here. What I did was I bought a tinderbox and then I went to the top of Lumbridge Castle and lit the logs that were there and hopped worlds until I was level 15 fire making. This is because the actual 4 or 5 minute long route of getting the normal logs would be way longer, and I wanted to do more fletching. I'm not a massive fan of fire making. It's a bit of a pain to me, and kind of something I don't really want to focus on until I can get to Wintertodt, whenever that is. I mean, it's probably miles away, but still. So I grinded this one out until I was level 15 fire making, and then I decided to go back to fletching oak logs. Now initially I'll be fletching oak logs into arrow shafts until I'm able to make oak short bows and then oak long bows, and then hopefully I'll be able to move on to willows. So this Chunk Locked Ultimate Ironman is actually the first Ultimate Ironman I've ever had, so I'm still finding out how to use the account and its restrictions. I actually fell into the common misconception that Ultimate Ironman could note items at a bank, or note any items at a bank, and unnote them at banks, which is completely untrue. They can only unnote items at banks, they can't note any items. The only way they can note items is the decanter in the Grand Exchange, or leprechauns for herbs and farming products. So thank you to the Ultimate Ironman clan chat for talking me through that. Okay, so here we're going to be talking about the tiles surrounding Lumbridge and the available tiles through teleports, what's good about them and why we want them. And then I want to talk about which tiles I specifically want and which ones I'd probably choose if I got Chunko decides, or Chunk Hunter decides. So let's start north. So the north tile of Lumbridge is actually quite interesting. It'll actually allow me access to food, so cow pens and chickens, as well as, I think this is potatoes, and I think they're like onions, and they give you like 1 hit point back. But actually thinking about it, you can get like baked potatoes with tuna on them. So maybe like you can bake potatoes by themselves, and then that'll give you something. I have to do some research into that. But you know, if I discover that, that'd be really good. But either way, like this is a prime area for food. It's also a prime area for fletching experience because we can get feathers. Best thing about this tile, by a long shot, is the farming patch though. This will allow me to note herbs. So the main reason that I'm doing fletching and woodcutting at the moment isn't because it's the easiest thing to do, or although it is the fastest XP I can get in Lumbridge. I want to get combat experience, but I need access to a leprechaun in the farming patch, so when I'm killing men and women around town, I can then walk up all the way from South Lumbridge and note my herbs, save me inventory space. Inventory space again is crucial. I've never played an Ultimate Ironman, and this is kind of obvious stuff here, but inventory space is really crucial. So that's kind of the best thing about this tile. The other thing that's interesting here, there are farmers walking around, and I think that you can pickpocket them and they give you allotment seeds, like kind of low level seeds. So that is actually pretty good as well. But definitely the best thing about this is like access to food and the herb noting, right? That's really good. Most tiles have this kind of thing, but this tile, that's specifically good from this one. The west tile. So again, this is actually a much closer herb patch, or leprechaun. So we can note our herbs here much faster, and actually that would be a really quick route, because we can just go up here, herb, come back. Or if what I'm probably going to do is stay here for a bit so I can get some runes, because I'm not going to be one-shotting these people until later. So that would be like a really quick transfer. Like, look at that, it's really good. And then you can just be between these 3 things. The shop to sell the crap items, then to note herbs and back. That would be really good. The other thing to note, and obviously everyone's going to be pointing this out, is the ham hideout. And yes, the ham hideout is excellent, and it's really, really useful. However, because of my own account restrictions, I don't have access to the ham hideout immediately. What it will do is give me the opportunity to get access to the ham hideout, because the ham hideout is a chunk. So I don't have access to the ham hideout. What I do have access to is the area surrounding it. And then if I wanted to, I could stand here when I get the next lot of XP, and then roll the dice here and hopefully get the dungeon chunk, in which I'd be able to go into the ham hideout, and you know, that'll give me access to killing ham members, pickpocketing ham members, easy clues, that kind of stuff. So the best thing here is the access to the ham hideout and the farming patch, and obviously subsequently this and Draenor Village south, right? So this chunk isn't excellent. It's like a follow-up chunk, like a lead-up chunk that will bring me to better things down the line. The south chunk is actually really interesting. I don't get access to loads of stuff in the swamp. I get swamp tar and things, but because I don't have druidic ritual done, I can't actually do anything with swamp tar, so it's kind of pointless. There are 3 really good things down here, fairly obviously. Anchovies, really good fishing XP. I'm able to get my fishing experience up. I'm able to get access to food. I'm pretty sure the fishing tutor will give me a net. If the fire making tutor or the woodcutting tutor gave me a tinder box, then surely he'll give me a net, right? And there are some like these red dots here, down here, but I literally have no idea what they are. And red dots aren't a map thing, so I really don't know what they are. Anyway, the other 2 things are around here as well. So we've got the mine, which is 5 copper, 5 tin, which is another really good experience, which is mining and smithing, something that's really important, so that I would be able to get theoretically full bronze, but which is hilarious, by taking the bronze all the way up to here, furnace, and then using the anvil. But by far and the best way, the best thing in this tile is the full isolation quest of the Misthala Mystery. It's an instance quest, so I don't have to unlock the chunk that it goes to, and it gets you like 600 or something crafting XP, so it'll get you up to like I don't know, like level 7 crafting, which means that it'll make this crafting grind way more bearable, because I would only have to get to like 3 more levels using sheeps or something like that to use the flax from the random events. That is pretty big. So like, yeah, the fishing is really good, the mining is really good, and the smithing is really good. I think those two are really cool things. But I think the real reason you do that is to be able to complete the Missile Mystery quest. The east tile doesn't offer loads. Again, it's similar to the west tile, right? There's like things that it'll offer you next, but it won't offer you things generally. It will offer you a farming patch. So I could get to a leprechaun, I could kill men around here, leprechaun back. I don't know if you can kill the guards, maybe you can do that, then maybe that'll be faster. You can get access to like a silk trader. I think probably the best thing here though is the gem shop, other than the leprechaun. I think is the gem shop. If you can get your crafting up enough to be able to do gems, that's actually a pretty quick crafting XP if you can get the money for it. So that's not bad. But again, this is like a lead up tile to go to like the mines, which is pretty good because you can get, you know, gold and iron here and then everything else. And then you've got Alcarid itself down here. So you've got the furnace, you've got a really good food shop here, you've got crafting shops and like plate skirt shops, that kind of thing. Scimitar shop, which obviously I think it sells the mithril scimitar, which is like the best weapon I could possibly get. And completely underrated in Alcarid would be the Sorceress's Garden, which is an instance and therefore I wouldn't have to unlock it, and the Alcarid rooftop source, which is why I'm putting all my genie lamps and dunce events into agility. The only issue is I've only got one of them so far, and so I'm only on like 10 XP, which sucks. Moving forwards, I want to talk about the teleports. I haven't unlocked them yet, but maybe I will be able to soon. So the Varrock teleport will get me some pretty interesting stuff. So I won't be able to do the entire Varrock agility course because it goes through a different chunk. So I won't be able to unlock that. But it will let me unlock a couple of really good shops. So the archery shop, that's really good. The anvil here is really good as well, and obviously the staff shop is peak excellence because then I can auto cast spells and get my magic level up much easier. The best thing, and you've probably noticed it already in Varrock, if I unlock this area, is the museum. So if I am able to get to the museum, I'm able to get my Slayer and I'm able to get my Hunter up to level 9 by doing the quiz. That's pretty huge. I mean, that'll be well on my way to be able to getting baby implings, which is just floating around the map. And that'll be really, really big for the account. But again, really difficult to do. So yeah, I think this is a pretty good tile, but it's not the easiest. I think the best tile in Varrock for us would likely be the Grand Exchange. Because for an Ultimate Ironman, there are very few things on the map that are actually incredibly useful. And one of them is the pricing expert for the herbs. And he will decant your potions into noted potions, and that will save massive amounts of inventory space. So if I'm able to get Druidic Ritual done, that's a huge tile for me. But yeah, this one, it's okay. That's incredibly excellent. I mean, that will save hundreds of hours of getting genie lamps. Now we're going to talk about Falador and the Falador teleport. It's an incredibly important chunk for quite a few reasons, honestly. One, it's actually quite a good furnace right next to the teleport. It's got no anvil, but it is a really easy access to furnace, which means that in the future when I get access to an anvil, it's a really good two-step process to get furnace to anvil. So like for rock anvil in the future. So teleport to Falador, smelt the ore, teleport to Varrock, anvil the ore. The second thing is fairly obvious. I can actually get a player-owned house from Falador. Now, getting into the player-owned house is kind of another issue, where I theoretically could teleport in there and then, you know, home teleport out, minigame teleport out, something like that. But it's really important to be able to start doing construction experience, because that's kind of the only way I can use storage. I can use amulet storages, I can use the treasure box, those kind of things. So I can store graceful, I can store capes, I can store Void Knight. You know, there's loads of really important stuff that I can store in the house. So this is an incredibly good area to unlock early. There's also another reason it's really good. My goal for the account early, I might have mentioned before, is Druidic Ritual. And this is really close to Druidic Ritual. I'm only like 4 tiles away, 3 tiles away. And this block here has a bear as well, so I'm able to get the kind of bear meat that you need for that as well. So it's a really good start area for Druidic Ritual. I mean, if you come down here, you can get nearly access to Tavily Dungeon itself, and you've also got a mine here. It's copper, tin, iron, and coal, so that's really good. So theoretically, you could get some smithing XP here. But this is kind of like the crucial area, really, really important. Now I'm going to talk about RD, the RD teleport. So this actually has a similar kind of thing to Falador, where you can get the house. It's actually really, really important. It's probably the best part about Ardougne. The second best is the sheer amount of thieving XP you can get here. So if I'm struggling for experience, that's a really good area. It's got food, it's got the knights, which are famously really good to pickpocket. It's got the gem shop for crafting XP and thieving. It does have theoretically the Ardougne rooftop course, but like I'm not going to, it's like level 90 to use. I can't use that. But this is an incredibly good teleport. It's not as good as the Falador one, because the access to Tavily and Druidic Ritual, but it's really good. The thing that this has that Falador doesn't, other than the thieving, is the ships of Brimhaven and Rimington. So this will theoretically allow me to use the ports to get to the house portal, which is an incredibly big thing. Because if I can actually get to the house portal, I can use the house without having to teleport there. So that's really, really important. It also allows me to be able to get to Brimhaven, so start exploring Karamja, that kind of thing. Alright, now we're going to round the Spellbook Teleport explanation up with Camelot. So, as you can see here, it's a big, pretty empty tile. This is probably the weakest of all. It's one of those ones where it's like a good through-fair tile. There is only one really good thing about Camelot, other than the adjacent tiles, and that's the allotment patch, which is really good, to be fair. It's a really, really good way of getting XP. But other than that, it's pretty useless. There are maple trees about, which are good, but that's about it, honestly. And if I've got access to Willow and Yew, maple is just kind of an in-between one. But, again, next to Camelot are some pretty good things. I can do Elemental Workshop 1 and 2 here, which is really good. There's a rooftop course, which is, you know, difficult to access, but it's really good. I can theoretically buy a house. Again, very, very good. And then we've also got access to Catherby, which is only like 1 tile away, 1 or 2 tiles away, which has got a really, really good fishing. And also access to a port as well. So the best thing about the Camelot teleport is the allotments, followed by kind of the adjacent tiles. The most important adjacent tile obviously being the north square, where we can get the max cape, and obviously that's going to be coming dead soon. Alright, now we're going to talk about the minigame teleports. These are less likely to occur, but still really important, obviously. The main one for me being Berthorpe, as we've discussed. I really want to get Druidic Ritual done, so that's a really easy access to there. But if we're ignoring that, it's also got access to a Slayer Master, which is pretty great. And I'm such a low level that, and this is the lowest level Slayer Master in the game, that theoretically they could give me like cows and goblins and spiders to do, which I could theoretically do in Lumbridge. So that's incredibly good. Once I'm level 50 thieving and 50 agility, I can use the Rogue's Den. I don't have to unlock that because it's not a chunk underneath the map. It's an instance technically. So that's also quite handy. But it also allows me to access Graceful if I need to, which is good. There's an anvil here. I think you might have to complete a quest to use this, but I might be wrong. But yeah, again, it's really, really close to Druidic Ritual. And as soon as I get this, I can get like Witch's House, and then Druidic Ritual done. Now we're going to talk about Castle Wars teleport. As you can see, there's not a lot here, right? There is essentially nothing here. Is this a bad chunk? No. I don't think there are any bad chunks. I mean, like, this is essentially a bad chunk, right? Like, I can't use this. But This is a really good access chunk. Like, you could theoretically get towards Yanil. There are ogres here. That's pretty good. I think they're ogres. I'm pretty sure they're ogres. The observatory quest, which is completely self-isolated as well, which is really handy, is just around the corner. So you can get that, and that gets me access to super anti-poison potions as well. Let's not forget, that's a spawn on the floor. And I don't need to be able to go to the dungeon, because technically that's an instance as well. Fishing here, didn't know that, that's quite cool. And there's a fruit tree patch, which I've been selling a lot of fruit trees, so that's pretty good as well. But the kind of important thing about this is it's really, really close to the tree gnome village, and there's loads of monsters in this maze. The best thing about this is the actual quest itself. Now, I don't remember particularly how to complete this, and I imagine it requires much more chunks than just this one. But it will get me access to the tree spirits, which will allow me to teleport around the map much more, unlocking more chunks quicker. So I could theoretically unlock this chunk. Well, I mean, alright, well, that's a bad example. I could theoretically unlock the Grand Exchange chunk, right? There's a tree spirit here, and then that would be a really good way of doing that. But yeah, this is really good. So one of the other teleports is Clan Wars, and actually I'm going to talk about 2 teleports here, because I'm going to talk about Clan Wars, and I'm also going to talk about Last Man Standing. They are actually 2 different teleports, and I need to test it out on my main, they're 2 different areas, left and right, or west and east. They theoretically could teleport to different locations, west and east chunk. So, which would drastically affect, I mean, these are kind of like barren wastelands, this is the wilderness, remember. But it will kind of affect what local chunks I can get to, because I can get to the Chaos Temple from the east, and the Graveyard of Shadows from the east, which will have a bronze crossbow, so I wouldn't even need an anvil to start getting use out of my bronze darts, or bronze bolts, sorry. This has bears in it, but it's also quite close to the Dark Warriors Fortress, which has got quite a few runes there. Bandit Camp, which has got a really good general store and fishing. The Rev Caves, which I've never explored, but I think would be fun on a UIM. The good thing about the Westway is, where is it? Yeah, you are quite close to the Crazy Archaeologist, which has pretty good drops. I've never really been a massive fan of the wilderness, honestly, so it kind of frightens me. I don't really like getting PK'd, and especially in a UIM where you essentially lose every single item. You don't keep any items on death, so you don't keep the standard 3 items. So I'd have to go all the way back to my grave, and likely someone would take it all. So I would have to be really sparing with that. There are some really interesting things here as well, to be fair, not just the adjacent chunks. There are portals here and there which restore all your energy, so run, prayer, status ailments, health, that kind of thing. So that is pretty good. But yeah, I think mostly it's just an exploring kind of thing, and I think that would be really fun on an Ultimate Ironman. I think I would get over my fear of losing all the items that I have, so that would be pretty good. And now, having also unlocked a new route to the Ferox Enclave, through the Waka Canoe, that's pretty good. Again, I don't think there are any bad chunks. I think this is an exciting area. I think it's scary, but I think it's exciting. Ah, yes, with the Red Caves, I'd probably have to unlock. Wait, this isn't the Red Caves. If I'm honest, I've never been to the Red Caves. Is this the Red Caves? I think with the Red Caves, I'd need to unlock some stuff, because yeah. So probably the least useful minigame teleport that I've got on my thing arguably should be removed, but because I'm a completionist, it definitely won't be. And it's, again, not a useless chunk, but it is nearly useless, is the Tsar Fight Pit teleport. Now, it will bring you to exactly here, and then you can use the Fight Pit, something that brings me nothing. The only good thing about this teleport is it's slightly close to bringing me some other things. So this is pretty cool. Gold ore right next to a furnace, that's excellent. That's really, really good. Especially for an Ultimate Ironman. There's a magic shop here, as well as a gem shop, a sword shop. So, you know, there are really good things. This is a teleport to be able to get closer to other stuff. So if I wanted to go through the exploration route, I think this is a fun one to do. This is definitely fun. Whether it's immediately useful, I'd probably have to still do I mean, I definitely still have to do like a Lumbridge XP, but this is a pretty interesting area. Not only that, once I've got here, by the way, I'd still have to unlock the chunk for Fight Cave, so I wouldn't be able to immediately do that. And I hate Jad. I hate Jad. I've only been able to do the Fight Caves once on my main, and I really didn't enjoy it. It stressed me out. Anyway, this then allows me to go up again. I would still have to unlock this chunk, but you know, I'm able to unlock this area. So there are some things to kill here, pretty good, some gold. And it's only one tile away from me basically completing Dragon Slayer. How excellent is that? So, you know, it's not useless. It's only, what is it? 1, 2, 3 exploration tiles away from Dragon Slayer. That's less that's less chunks. Sorry, I keep calling them chunks and tiles. That's less chunks than it is for Druidic Ritual, which I think is funny. But again, we can come back up here. We'd get the volcano. We'd be able to go Brimhaven, Rimington, Musa Point as well. Yeah. But we might be able to unlock those through RD anyway. The one that I'm rapidly approaching with my combat level is Void Knight's Outpost for pest control, which is a pretty good one. Like, there's an anvil here, magic shop, general store. I've not and archery shop apparently. I've not explored this very much, but I mean, Void Knight I can store in my house if I've got one, which is good. The whole outfit, and I can keep getting that out if I've got the whole outfit, which is really good. And obviously, if I kill Zolra, I might be able to get the elite diary one. The only issue with this that I find with this, and it's only a mild issue, is the island itself is also a chunk. So I would probably have to unlock this chunk before I would be able to get that. Leave a comment down below maybe if you think that if I unlock Pest Control Island I can get this. But yeah, it might be a bit difficult to get this. Now, one of the most random event dependent teleports I have currently, and this might change later, is dependent on the Evil Bob fishing random event. Because if I can get enough fishing XP to get, I think it's like 15 fishing, I can unlock Port Khazad. And that's the fishing trawler, this anvil, which is pretty good, mithril and tin ore around here, general store is pretty good, and also a charter ship. So that's pretty important as well. It's kind of a self-contained quest over here, as I've discussed previously. But actually, this is a pretty good way of getting around the map. Charter ships are really important. So that's about it at the moment.
After a period of cutting oak logs and fletching them into arrow shafts, I was able to hit level 29 woodcutting, and not long after got my first beginner clue scroll from a bird's nest. As you can see, I was unable to complete it. It was in Al-Kharid, which is only a couple of tiles away, but still not possible to complete. So I had to drop this one. Goodbye, beginner clue. And then not long after that, I got to level 30 woodcutting, which meant I was able to cut down willow trees. We got our first actual important event. So the beekeeper has a chance to either give you flax or the beekeeper's outfit, and lucky enough here I was able to get some flax. I just need 10 crafting to be able to spin that flax. Finally, I was able to make oak short bows. We then got another clue nest, this one a hard clue nest, and actually this was indicative of the clue nests I would get during this grind, as I generally get hard clue nests, and obviously we can't complete them, so I just had to drop it on the ground. Then came along another random event, something I don't really need to do, but Leo the Gravedigger gives you some emotes, which I always like to keep, and he also has the possibility of giving us an outfit. Here we were able to get the zombie dance emote, which is pretty nice. Then the grind seemed to progress very, very quickly. I was essentially just cutting oak and then just fletching them into the highest level bow that I could. And here we reached the end goal. So when I set up the rules for Chunk Hunter originally, the total XP goal was 100,000 XP. And in the next section you'll see me unlocking the next chunk, which is incredibly exciting. I then go on, and we will discuss this later, to increase the total XP required to unlock the next chunk. Now we've already talked extensively about areas we want to get, but for me, the next two areas that I kind of want to get are the north and south chunk. North because it'll allow me access to food, and south because it'll allow me access to an entire quest, and mining and smithing, and some fishing. I don't really mind too much about the east and west chunks, but south and north I think for me are pretty crucial. Obviously the best chunk for me currently would be the Burthorpe minigame teleport, but north or south Lumbridge would be very good as well. As you can see, the first grind only took me about 8.5 hours. So let's fletch the last bow and get our level, and spin the wheel.
What are we getting?
Oh, okay, so we got the north chunk, so that's excellent. That's really, really good. So that's one of the two things I wanted to get. So let's unlock this now. Okay, brilliant. So now we have access to the cow pens, we have access to the chickens. So let's go and explore. Unfortunately, in these clips, you can see I had forgotten to take down the overlay. So you can see me exploring the north tile and showing off my inventory. So I have discovered that there are farmers here, and willow trees, which is very interesting. And there are potatoes here, which heal 1 health. The great thing about this area as well is I can start and finish the cook's assistant quest. I can get eggs from the chicken coops. I can also go and milk a dairy cow for milk. And to get the flour, although I don't have access to a mill, I can kill imps, and they drop a pot of flour. So collecting the items wasn't too bad. It only took me 13 imp kills to get it, which is very below drop rate, so I'm thankful for that. And here I was able to finish off the cook's assistant quest. A cheeky Dr. Jekyll event. And along the way I killed some chickens, so that I was able to get level 7 cooking after cook's assistant, to be able to cook the potatoes, which would be the best source of food. So when I originally created the rules for Chunk Hunter, the total XP value to unlock the next chunk was 100,000 XP. Now, I tried to make the rules so that they covered every base and closed every loophole, but I still knew coming into it would have to be relatively iterative, and it would mostly have to depend on the amount of fun that I was having in the account. I wanted this account to be fun, but I also wanted it to feel like I had worked and earned the next chunk. And after sleeping on it and walking around, I felt that 100,000 was actually too easy. It only took me 8 hours. I mean, I'm not going for 1 million, I'm not going for 99, but it felt like it could have been harder, and I felt like I hadn't earned the next chunk yet. So I actually wanted to up the difficulty of getting the next chunk. And this was a difficult decision for me. I wanted to stick to the rules, but I also knew the rules might have to change and adapt to my playing experience. And I didn't think coming into it that was something I would have to change. So I decided to change the total XP requirement to unlock the next chunk to be 300,000 experience, not 100,000. 3 times the amount. And because of who I am as a person, felt guilty about having walked around the next chunk, completed a quest using the next chunk, I felt very guilty about having done that. So, as punishment for doing that, I decided to sell and drop all my inventory so that I had to start again from scratch, and do an extra 100,000 XP as punishment. So this would take me to a total of 400,000 XP before we could unlock the next chunk. I had already unlocked the next chunk, the north chunk, and it felt disingenuous to change that. So at the 400k XP mark, I will just unlock the north chunk. So until 400k XP, I will be locked to this chunk, and then I will have to get another 300k XP to 700k to unlock a further chunk. I felt much happier about this. I wanted the grind to be difficult but rewarding. I didn't want it to be impossible, but I didn't want it to feel too easy. So this is why I'm making the change. And I feel like the punishment is fair and justified, but if you feel like I should be punished more, or you think that's okay, then yeah. Thanks for watching, and if you've got time, fill in the Google form below to feedback on things we discussed about this episode.